Hello. All right, welcome to Careful Intuitions. We're here reading a message. We're going to try a different type of message today. We're going to try a safe message for kids. So, people think that tarot and spiritual work is scary when you wear the color black. Look, so many people are walking away from a very safe method of what? Spiritual communication. It's very safe. I wasn't allowed to play Halloween when I was a kid. I grew up in the Pentecostal church, and they told us that we could not go to Halloween parties because it was the devil's birthday, or something like Christmas. You know, like Christmas is Jesus' birthday, and Halloween is the devil's birthday. That was the conversation taught in evangelical church. But I disagreed from a very young age. About the age of 5, I've always loved Halloween. It's my favorite holiday of all. It's been my favorite holiday since I was about this age, right? I was about this age. See that little boy there? That's when I first became a spiritual Jedi. I was saved at a very young age. I was introduced to Jesus the day I was born, and then I was safe ever since. So I was allowed to play whatever game I wanted. My father was a Pentecostal minister in the Church of God, to be exact. The Church of God is a very black and white organization. They say what is and what isn't, and you have to follow the rules. If you're part of the family, if you're part of the family tree, you're safe. But if you're not, don't you tell our children what to do. That's the lesson that everybody learns about evangelicals. You don't tell our children anything in America. In America, you do what you do and we'll do what we do, right? That's the rules in America. So as long as those rules were applicable, the Church of God said, no Halloween, it's not allowed. But I disagreed. And so did my dad, the evangelical minister, and so did my mother. Because the devil never got to win that game, right? The devil never ever got to be the devil in our house. So I was allowed to dress up for Halloween until about the age of 5 years old, when my dad decided he was going to spook his 5-year-old son, and my mommy said, no more. We're not going to play Halloween no more, because my dad scared me so bad I about peed my pants. He was dressed up as the hunchback of Notre Dame, and I was dressed up like a little cowboy or something, and he came and knocked on the window when I was inside the living room and scared the daylights out of me, right? He scared the daylights out of me. So, yeah, it was a joyous occasion, right? It was a joyous occasion. So we weren't allowed to play Halloween anymore, and we started doing these things called harvest festivals. Harvest festivals are fun, but my parents never knew the origins of a harvest festival. So as I grew up and I realized my parents were just doing the best they could do, right? That was all they could do, was do the best they could do. They didn't realize that harvest festivals weren't all they were cracked up to be. Harvest festivals are uniquely pagan, very uniquely pagan. And pagan is a bad word in my house. It's always been a bad word in my house. So, I don't know. I had to call in some help as I grew up. And we got the Eight of Wands here. The Eight of Wands in this deck reminds me of a cowboy named Thor. Zeus's son. Wait, not Zeus. Odin. Odin's son. Yeah, I get my names mixed up because I'm still American. But some days I'm American, some days I'm Norwegian, some days I'm Swedish. So today I'm an American, and I am a human on Earth still. So we're all still here. We're all still here, and we're all still safe. But we're just doing one message that's safe for kids today, so everyone can understand that there is no demon coming to bite your kids in the butt, right? Look, give it back to God. Doesn't that look like a horse talking to a bat? Give that game back to God. If it scares you in your house, then don't buy the game, right? You get to be the king of your house as long as you're the king of your house. If the game scares you, then don't play it. But if you're forcing your kids to believe that these pretty pictures, are all these pretty pictures will hurt your children? Hello? Have you guys never heard of Adventure Time? They hurt your children. Are they not allowed to play any game anymore? Have we drunk too much Kool-Aid? Have we drunk way, way, way too much Kool-Aid? Well, look at the picture. That's what I mean. It looks like a big, scary monster in the fiery pit of Kool-Aid Land doing what? Drinking way too much Kool-Aid, playing the game of justice. Look in his hands there. He's holding the scales of justice. Are we giving our games to the scary guy downstairs? I don't think that's what Jesus instructed. I am a Christian. I just consider myself a Christian mystic. Now, the Jewish people understand this game a lot more. They called it Kabbalah. You know, we don't really talk about Jews that much in the evangelical church because that's naughty, right? The Jews were the ones that said bye-bye to Jesus. So, we don't really talk about that too much in the evangelical church. But the Jews understood that there is mysticism in everything. We just aren't called to focus on the mysticism. The Holy Spirit is amazing and powerful. But what? Those are His powers, right? I say His because, you know, I'm a boy. But they are the Spirit's powers. We don't get to decide where those powers go to. And if we call on them for evil, you're going to find yourself in a little pickle. Evil is a very real word, and it does exist in America. So, we have to be careful as we continue down this road. But spirituality has been taken out of our country for a very long time. And when it got taken away from the Native Americans, right? What happened? You know, remember Cousin It in this Four of Cups? They got, all right, see down here, there's 3 cups at the bottom. This person is allowed to use those 3 cups when they're learning about spirit. So let's pretend they're Catholic and evangelical, and maybe, if you're lucky, maybe a Presbyterian. You're allowed to ask those people about Jesus. Every now and then a Methodist gets to talk to you, you know? So you'll stay safe. But Jesus is saying, hello, look behind Cousin It. Look behind Cousin It. There's a little bird flying up behind him with a little eye saying, I can do whatever I want. Who is that little bird coming from the clouds? All right, I'll let you use your imagination. I would say it's probably an angel, but I've never seen a man with wings or a woman with wings. So I don't know if that's what angels looks like. I don't know if that's what angels look like or not. So you can use your imagination. I believe in justice, just like this kid here in this chair. Look at that kid. He is sitting on the throne of justice. But what's happening? He is tattered, he is worn, he is burnt to the core. I think I burnt my arm on a pizza oven this time. I can't remember. I burned my skin so many times that people get afraid for me. I'm a diabetic, and people get afraid that when I burn my skin, uh-oh, you better not go to work anymore. They treat me a little bit like a prince, right? Uh-oh, that's not okay. Jesus said that is not okay. That is my prince, not your prince, right? If he is reading to me, I read to Spirit, right? You get to record and you get to watch when Spirit allows you to watch. If you have any questions, you can ask me any question at any time. Just know that I'm allowed to respond when it's ready for me to respond. So I have to pray about every single question you're going to ask. And if it's inappropriate for me to give you an answer that you're not ready for, I might kind of be, passive about it. One of my friends online only gives little hearts. That's what she does, to show you that she's read her message and that she loves you, but she can't reply to every message. So that might be a tactic that I use in the future. The time will tell. We all have soulmates, right? We all have soulmates. And a lot of them look like these guys. It looks like 2 giant elephants flying in the sky. And they have little guns coming from their tusks, right? They're like warriors with guns coming from their tusks, right? They're soulmates. They got each other's back. And they know we're not going to let anyone mess with you. So everybody should be encouraged to find a soulmate. Look, a lot of people have different opinions about them. They all have different things, a best friend, a lover, a parent, a grandmother, a grandfather, anything. Just somebody, a teacher to be short. A teacher would be a great soulmate. So always know, even police officers, right? Anyone can be a soulmate. Just know that you're safe all the time. Because if you think that you're not safe, what? You're going to be in trouble. So make sure your soulmate will keep you safe. But the next card we get is the card of death. All right? Now here's a picture that can scare just about anybody, right? Because anybody that has seen a frog that no longer lives knows death comes to all of us, right? So around Halloween, we're reminded of, we're going to say this for argument's sake. Remember the Mexicans, our friends downstairs in Mexico? They have a Day of the Dead, right? But they look at this day significantly different than we do. They look at it like a celebration, like a Christmas day. It's a beautiful holiday. If you don't know about it, I encourage you to look into it. It's a beautiful holiday. Many people have seen the cartoons, so they know all about it. So, when you're learning about this country and their people, just understand, right? But they love it too. They love it too. This card is fun. Remember, when your family members get to go where they go after they leave Earth, I believe they go to heaven. But when they get to go there, they're going to feel safe, right? So it's not bad. So when you're 120 years old and you say goodbye to this Earth, just know you're still going to be safe, right? So my home is currently grieving the loss of my father. So as we grieve the loss of my father, this bad guy constantly does this thing, right? He constantly does this thing where he makes arguments happen, where he makes strife come into the home, where he divides the home, right? Because this guy was standing in my front yard when I got here. Not the real man. The man that used to live in my house, my father. So it's scary, right? When you come back to a house after somebody has passed away and they're no longer there, it doesn't feel good. So you have to grieve his loss. So we keep my father's ashes in the home to grieve his loss. But the grieving period has about ended in my home. It's been 2 or 3 months now. So we're all coming to a stage of now we're just remembering who my father was. And his spirit is not locked on earth. I do not believe that at all. A lot of people believe that the spirit gets locked on earth if they don't do what Jesus says or something like that. They call it hell. I don't believe in this concept. But I do believe that we don't always succeed the way Jesus would like us to succeed. So there is hope, and you can ask any one of your friends how you can find that hope. So don't worry about that. But when we talk about death and we talk about the scary guys, like many of my friends out there, right? Many of my friends wear the color black. Some of them are priests, some of them are nuns, some of them are witches. They go by the religion of Wicca right now. It's very interesting. It's not what I believe. I believe it was created in about 1970, but someone out there could correct me if somebody wanted to. But I don't know much about it because I don't have many witch friends. But I did have a dream when I was a kid that maybe one day I would grow up to be a witch, but it just wasn't allowed. When I asked Jesus if I was allowed to be a witch, he said no, because of the stigma that the world has created, right? Because of the stigma that the world has created, I'm not allowed to identify as a witch. I am a Christian mystic. So if I go into the Christian community and tell them that I'm a witch, they're going to say no, thank you, right? So I had to go directly to source. And we came up with a compromise. He said, how about Christian mystic? Does that work for you? Because I like it too. I just don't want you to suffer the way your friends have to suffer, right? So it doesn't matter, because in reality, the word witch has become a bad word. You know, like the N-word. We're not allowed to say the N-word anymore unless you are that, right? If you are an African American, you're allowed to say the N-word, but I'm not, because I'm a white dude. You know, it was my ancestors that made that a bad word. So I'm not allowed to use the word W-I-T-C-H either, because I didn't respect it as a young man. I didn't respect it enough to defend them as much as I wanted to. So maybe one day Jesus will change his mind. But for today, I'm just a high priest. That's all it is. And it's fun enough, right? It's plenty of fun being a priest. Some would say I'm not even a high priest or a priest, right? The wrinkles under my eyes do not allow for a high priest, right? The skin on my forehead looks like a 41-year-old man. A high priest would look at me and say, "Excuse me, son. Excuse me, what's a high priest? This beard doesn't look nearly long enough to be a high priest." So we'll stick with priest for today, and we'll check your records later, right? There's an empress out there watching over, right? There's an empress in my life watching over right now, and it's not part of my family, but it is part of a close friend of mine's family. She's a very lovely angel that spends a lot of time around this house, right? She shares the same name as my mother. So she keeps us all safe all the time, and this is what angels do for us, right? Everybody uses words. Look at that picture. It's a young woman about the age of 24, 25 years old with her hand out to her son or daughter. And they're walking down the street. And the child is already wanting to be independent. He's already wanting to be independent. And she cannot wait for the day that that little child comes home from school and gives her a hug, right? So the day just comes too soon for every mother out there. And every father. Just because we don't all get to know our fathers, right? Some of us didn't grow up with our fathers. I was blessed to have my father on this earth for 64 years. That is a very long time. So my entire life, I've had my father in my life every single day. For the past 6 years, I wasn't able to see him because I was living across the country. And finances did not allow for us to be together. So I went 6 years without seeing the man that helped create me. It was a challenge, right? Our hands were tied. Our hands were tied, so we went 6 years. We all were doing the best we can. And that's what parents do every single day, even if they didn't raise you. Even if they did not raise you, they were doing the best that they can do. And not everybody knows this. They don't understand it. They believe that this guy is still in charge, right? That this guy here is still in charge, and I'm having trouble even picking up the card off the table. Why? A reader would understand. I'm having trouble picking the card up off the table because God is saying to my hand, don't you raise that card until you tell the story correct, right? Don't tell that story until you come correct. And he says what? This guy no longer exists in your world. And in this world here of Kids Tarot, he never existed at all, right? Look, it's a cartoon, it's a piece of paper, right? It's a kid. Somebody somewhere drew a picture of this scary angel, right? He has wings and sharp teeth and a sword and a little pit where he stirred his potions, right? And they gave it to children everywhere. And they said, that guy is going to come and bite you while you're sleeping. They were wicked witches, right? They were wicked witches, and that's what witches do. They work for that guy. This is the story that was told to children across the planet. Go out there and watch a movie by Disney. You know which one I'm talking about because they've made 2 of them now. Go find that movie. I think I'm allowed to say Disney still. I don't know. But if I'm wrong, somebody can correct me. That devil ain't doing nothing to you. So ask your mom if they're still scaring you. Or ask me, and I will try to guide you the best I can as a priest, right? We can't fight every demon for you. That is not my duty. But look what we do here with the 6 of Cups. Pretend for a moment that that little guy there is dealing with your demons. I have this ability that they don't scare me. They've never scared me. They couldn't scare me if they picked a chair up and threw it across the room and popped my dog in the nose, right? It wouldn't scare me. I have dealt with this thing for many, many, many moons, right? They don't hurt me. They don't hurt my house. I slept in a bed where they thought they could scare me, and it was just entertaining for me. My mom gave me the room across the hall to get away from them. She's like, all right, it's just a thing, so don't worry about it, right? Moms are like this. Moms are like Ace of Wands. Ace of Wands is as high as you can go with your magic spells, right? Ace of Wands. With your magic, you become the fairy princess of the century to your children, right? Nobody is messing with Maleficent, right? She is the queen fairy, right? Maleficent is the queen fairy. Nobody's messing with Maleficent. We all saw the movie, right? Let's all go see it again if we can't remember. She won that game. She won that game over and over and over again. And they're still scared of her, right? They're still trying to run in on their little jelly bean, dressed up like their little corn candy, trying to kill her because she's a scary fairy. She's a scary, scary fairy. But when this card came out, it came out in reverse, right? I don't generally take reversals, but when it came out that time, I was glad to. Because nobody is coming in on a horse trying to kill our fairy princesses. Nobody. Believe you me, if you know my friends, you'll understand that nobody is taking away our fairy princesses. Why? Because they've kept us safe for millions and billions and zillions, if you will, years. They were here long before we were, and they have this kind of energy. So look at that heart. Imagine that heart protecting your baby. Look at this card specifically. This heart has very interesting legs and arms. Do you see what that looks like? It looks like little baby dolls. So, just know, all the children in the world are safe, and they always will be. All this scary talk that helps babies stay awake all night, well, maybe we should shut that down a little bit, yes? I agree. Let's pull one more card and call it a night. All right. We got the 2 of Wands here, right? There's one way for little boys and little girls everywhere to stay safe, right? There's one way for little boys and little girls to stay safe. Talk to somebody, right? Pick your soulmate wisely, right? Do not hurt your own self by picking your soulmate that's going to fill your head full of fear. If you are being filled with fear, if you are not being encouraged to succeed the way you need to be encouraged, reach out to somebody else. And there are a lot of us magicians out there, right? Everybody loves a magician. Some of them have real magic, right? Some of us have real magic, and some of us don't, right? It's no big deal. I just play a card game. That's all I do. I play a card game and I pray the whole time. And I've just been training for it for 41 years, so it comes easy to me. Don't have to be afraid of anything. There's nothing to be afraid out there. There are so many readers that there could be one reader for every person on this planet if need be, right? There's readers in Africa, there's readers in China, there's readers all across the globe. And there could be one for each of you. I don't get many viewers right now. It's just how life is because I'm not for everybody, right? I'm a gay dude that grew up in the evangelical church that doesn't talk about certain subjects the way that certain people like to talk about certain subjects. So we lose a lot of our audience, right? It just happens that way. So the more people reach out, the more people get to know me, they'll understand I'm not Hellboy, right? I'm not Hellboy. I've never been Hellboy. I'm just me. I'm Philip, right? I'm just me. And I like Spirit, so I hang out with Spirit all day, every day. We listen to music, we jam, we walk my dog, we walk around the park, we do whatever we want to do. But I don't worry about much. So if you're worrying about something like time, or is there enough time, or if I'm going to buy the next car, or something like that, I'm going to get distracted easily. I have ADHD. I've been diagnosed at the age of 30 years old, and I can say it just like a TV commercial because it's a lot of nonsense, right? I don't really believe in ADHD either, but it identifies a mental condition that helps people understand how my mind works. So, I don't take medicine for it, but I do take herbal supplements that help my mind, and I believe in natural medicine. So, I have a lot of beliefs that people don't agree with, but one day I hope to be better than I am today, and that's about all we can do right now. So I hope you all enjoy your afternoon. It was about 101 degrees outside the last time I looked at the thermometer thingamajigger outside, and it's about 77 degrees in this house because there's no air conditioning in this house, which I'm not used to because I just moved here from Florida, and I thought everybody on planet Earth had air conditioning, so I'm sitting next to this fan hoping that it's not covering up the radio, but all is well, all is well. So, everyone have a good afternoon. Oh, well, let's see. They're saying we forgot to do a reading, so let's see what they got here. The Book of Jedi. I don't know if they got something. No, money. All right, let's try here. Let's try this big one. I got this new big book. It's called what? Interlinear is the word. Interlinear, Greek to English, New Testament. Interesting. Interlinear. I love words. Words help. You know, they help us understand one another. And the Greek language is a lot like that. So that's why I picked up this one. I have a lot of different Bibles because I have a lot of people telling me that gay people don't get to go to the good place. So I have to fight for my right to exist every single day. And as I do so, I try to educate myself. There's a verse in the Bible that talks about the bad guy and how he knows the book better than anybody, right? So they use that verse on me a lot. And they refer to me as like a rabbi, you know, I'm being a bad guy and I'm trying to cover up my tracks so I can do whatever I want to do, and we are all very political about it. But I am who I am, so I really can't please everyone. I've never been able to. So, let's try something here. Paul moved to Caesarea? I don't know all these words. And he called to him 2 of the centurions and said, "Get 200 soldiers, ready by the 3rd hour of the night to proceed to Caesarea, with 70 horsemen and 200 spearmen." They were also to provide mounts to put Paul on and bring him safely to Felix the governor. Interesting. I don't know. We're going to skip a part there and go on to. So the soldiers, in accordance with their orders, took Paul and brought him by night to Antipatris. Interesting. I'm going to identify something here. I skipped a part here. And he wrote a letter having this form: Claudius Lysias, to the most excellent governor Felix, greetings. When this man was arrested by the Jews and was about to be slain by them, I came upon them with the troops and rescued him, having learned that he was Roman, and wanting to ascertain the charge for which they were accusing him. I brought him down to their council, and I found him to be accused over questions about their law. But under the accusation deserving death or imprisonment, And when I was informed that there would be a plot against the man, I sent him to you at once, also instructing his accusers to bring charges against him before you. So, what happened there? Somebody prayed for somebody, and something worked out. So, it's an interesting little passage from the book of the Bible. I call it the Big Book. This one is Greek to English. The Greek people are very interesting. I love them. I just spent 3.5 years in a community that was created. I don't know the whole history, but there's a lot of people that are from Greece in this town where I lived in Florida. It's a very cute town. Tarpon Springs. Check it out. All right, guys. Have a good afternoon. I hope you all are well. I'll keep you in my prayers, and I love you all. Have a good day. Bye.